Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us tonight. We have a very special guest. Don Griffith has been our District 3 videographer for, wow, goodness, how long? For as long as I've known you, that's been 4 years.
Yeah, couple 3 years maybe.
Okay, terrific. And what I asked for Don to do, if he would, was to just share his insights because he's done a lot of video. And I wanted to find out from his insights what we can do to promote our clubs with video. Should we use video in the first place? So I have a list of questions to ask. If we don't get through all of them in 30 minutes, then we will ask Don with his schedule, could we go ahead and schedule a follow-up to this discussion? Everybody ready? So Don, you have been a District 3 Toastmaster for a long time. And, excuse me, I beg your pardon. You're also a Distinguished Toastmaster or a DTM.
Correct.
Terrific. Well, thank you for coming on board tonight, and I really appreciate your time. In your opinion, for promoting our clubs, how important is using video?
I think it could be a lot more important to clubs than it is now. I think it's an underutilized asset. I'm not a PR expert per se, but if you go visit the internet, whether that's YouTube, social media, anything, you'll see it's a video-driven platform. Video wins. People will not listen to just an audio recording in general, but they will watch videos. So I'm thinking that if we can figure out how to use it for public relations, then if your club is one of the first on the block to do it, you're going to set yourself apart. You know, if folks are looking at multiple clubs, and frankly, most do, they'll go to the Find a Club and they'll look for clubs in their area. And if they get a list of 2 or 3, and they go to your website and there's a video, or you mention that video is used in the meetings and so forth, I think that's a competitive advantage. So I think right now it's underutilized. I'm certainly not the expert on how to use it for PR, but I've been plugging away in my 2 clubs, doing it on a regular basis, and I think it is making an impact.
Now, which 2 clubs do you do video in, Don?
I'm a member of Voice of Many Toastmasters. One of your online guests, Carl Rusnock, is also in that club with me. And we video the member speeches. So when a member gives a speech, we video it. I give it to them as a private video. If they want to publish it, they'll give me permission. I'll put it up on YouTube. My other club is Ahwatukee Toastmasters. And we have YouTube channels for both of those with close to 200 videos in total.
Wow, that is a lot of video.
Yeah, it is. That's been going on for 2 or 3 years now.
Now, you mentioned that in your Voice of Many Toastmasters, you concentrate on recording member speeches.
Right.
So for my second question, what should our clubs focus on with their videos as they're just getting started? Should it be speeches, table topics, awards? What would be the best bang for the buck just to get their feet wet?
I think the speeches has the most impact right away for everyone, but especially the members. Because I found that the members who take their speech and they actually watch it can be their own evaluator. Some people are uncomfortable watching themselves or hearing themselves in a recording. But once you get through that and get over that, you realize, wait, this is a good tool for me to improve. Now that's internal. That's just a service to the members. On our YouTube channels, we do put many of them up for public viewing. And we do get some views from outside. It's hard to say whether that turns into a member or not. We don't have that kind of tracking. But that's for speeches. Now, within the club, I don't generally publish any of the other components, the table topics or that. That's an idea, though, to make it interesting for the viewers. The table topics are all short, so that's an advantage. Short videos get watched. Sometimes people will watch a 30-second video or a minute video. They won't watch a 7-minute speech. The other thing you can think about doing is promos and commercials. And those can be as long as you design them. So, for instance, if you wanted to have a 30-second commercial for your club, that would feature, maybe some pictures of the members in action, meeting time, meeting place, special things about your club that you think people would want to know. Build yourself a commercial. And it doesn't have to be ready for prime time. It doesn't have to be something that would pass muster on a TV station, but it can be fun and creative. And then the last idea that I had on this is instructional videos for your members. If you got a new member orientation process, what better way than to have someone explaining in several little 2-minute videos, okay, what's table topics? Well, let me explain what table topics is. What makes a good evaluation? And give the very short version of that. Some of that, of course, is covered in pathways, but not everything. You could certainly cover the things that make your club different. What's unique about your club compared to other clubs? And that would be good for not only brand new members, but dual members who know the system, but they may not know your little cultural things that your club does.
And I don't know that I would discount the Pathways one, because I know that in our district we've done quite a bit of video with Pathways and demonstrating how it works. I think it makes a difference at the club level if they want to incorporate part of that as a how-to, because potential members then can see, as long as it's a open public facing page and not one that you have to log into. Potential members can see how Pathways works. Newer members who are just getting their feet wet and still not sure can go back and use their club's website as the reference point, along with catching up with other how-tos on District 3's website.
Right.
That's a great one. And that also answered another question that we had as you were talking. How long should our videos really be? So you mentioned that they may not sit through a speech, but if they're sharing it, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook, you could always include in the post the length of the video, so that way if someone comes across it, or as they come across it, they'll see the length of it and make that decision for themselves. They may decide to bookmark it or save it and come back to it when they have time, but at least that will heighten the awareness of that.
Right.
Okay, that's a good idea. And I like the definite
YouTube, I
how-to.
think, does that. Will tell you the length of it when you're looking at the page. I don't know about the other platforms right off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't think they do. YouTube is good, but if you're going to repurpose it, then putting it over on Facebook and then putting a little post with it that says, hey, this is a 7-minute video, that would be good. And I think people, once they're prepped for it, they probably would tune in and listen to it and watch it.
Sure.
All right. Now, most of us, myself included, will probably be using our cute little smartphones to take video from. Actually, you should probably go this way, I think. Well, first of all, is there a difference in the orientation? And then what settings could we use no matter what phone we have?
Well, I looked into I have an iPhone, and I went into the settings menu. And sure enough, when you open that up, there are, I've got it over on my other screen here. There's a list of possible things you can do. And it really relates to how many pixels essentially, and then how many frames per second. I would just use the default. Don't try to get too fancy, certainly not at the beginning. My phone will default to high definition. That's what they call 1080p. That's 1080 pixels at 30 frames per second. Now, some of that is jargon to some of the maybe people on the line here, but it's really just relates to how good of the quality and how much space will it take up on your phone and on your computer. If you want to go with higher resolution, better quality, higher frame rate, most phones these days have that. Just be aware it's going to take a lot more memory. And if you're going to do anything with these videos, like do editing or anything like that, it takes longer to edit a bigger file. It takes longer to upload them to wherever you're uploading. So again, my advice right off the bat is use the default settings. And you alluded to it earlier. Yes, please hold it this way, not this way. This way is the natural way when you grab it and hold it in your hand. But most people, some people even enjoy watching videos that way. I'm not one of them. I recommend you turn it sideways and get a landscape view. The other thing that's really pretty important is you need to steady it. I don't recommend holding it with your hand. Even if you think you've got really steady hands and arms, you're going to slip. You're going to scratch your nose, or you're going to pick up a pencil, you're going to do something, and the picture's going to wobble. Now, there's a bunch of cute little things you can get out there. Here's one. This is
I have one of those.
yeah, it's a little miniature tripod that's adjustable. And this one has a little clip, and you just put your phone in it, like this. Then you set it on the table, and it stays put. Now, if you don't have one of those, and by the way, they're only, I don't know, 20 or 30 bucks. If you don't have one of those, find something to hold it. Even if it's one of these little clips you can get at the office supply store. Just attach it to your phone like this, and just keep it from wobbling around.
Now, would a selfie stick do the same thing, do you think, or no?
Well, selfie sticks are held.
Right.
You hold on to it. It doesn't steady it at all.
That's a good point.
It just moves it out farther so that it can see you. So again, whatever you come up with, whether you buy one of those little cute tripod things, or you may go to Best Buy and tell them you want a little miniature tripod for your phone. There's probably 4 or 5 brands out there. They're not expensive, and it's well worth the investment.
Gotcha. Now, along with that, as a follow-up question, since we've covered the orientation now of the phone, which was awesome, should we be zooming in and out of the picture, or how close to our subject should we be?
It's awkward to do that. It's easy enough to do on the phone. You pinch and move it around. I'd recommend just setting it so you can see the whole speaking area, and just let it sit. I use a big fancy camera, and most of the time I zoom in to a region that I know the speakers are going to be in. If I go in too close and they move and I'm not paying attention, they're out of shot. So I tried not to lose them. I try to keep them on the screen. So my recommendation would be, zoom in so you can see the speaking area, and then just leave it alone. Later, if you get more adept at it, or you want to practice with, say, table topics where it's not something you're going to publish, play with it and get used to how your phone reacts. And you may find that turns out not to be that hard. Again, most of the time when people are taking videos, they're holding it with their hand. And later you can tell because the picture wobbles all over the place. And that's hard to watch.
It is. I've seen a lot of videos with some of my friends in social media, and they take pictures while they're driving, which I hope no one's ever doing, pictures or video, and they'll stop and talk and look down. First of all, it's dangerous, and second of all, they bounce on the road, and it's very distracting.
Hopefully we won't have any Toastmasters driving
I hope
while they're giving their speech.
I hope not.
Yeah.
Now, along with that, one of our Toastmasters clubs, Thunderbird Toastmasters, and they recently moved into the Verdi division, they had a member there. I wish he'd come back. He was a really awesome and dynamic individual, but he was in the habit of taking Facebook Live video to show people a live meeting going on right then and there, which I can see merit to, but he didn't always get permission from his members. So my first question is, in your opinion, what are the pros and cons of either going through Facebook Live, Instagram Stories Live, or even doing Periscope Live for Twitter? And then the follow-up to that, should we always get both our members and guests permission, or at least let them know what we're doing when we're doing video?
Well, live is fun. Live is exciting. Live is, that's a positive. One of the disadvantages, you've already mentioned it, is permissions. It's difficult to get the permission of everybody in the room for something like that. And even if everybody raises their hand and say, yeah, that's fine, you may not get everyone. And if they object later, you don't have anything that said they gave permission. And what you don't want to do is put them or you in a compromising position. What could be a compromising position? Well, that could be something objectionable is said during this live thing. Commercial TV has always had that 7-second delay. If somebody says something on live on a set, They can bleep it out. You
Right.
don't have that. You can't take it back.
Oop.
So that's one of the things. If you believe that's okay, great, go for it. It is trendy, it's fun, and it's going to attract a certain demographic to do that. But just be aware that you can't unsay it once it's been said. It also it needs an internet or a Wi-Fi connection, which means your phone is transmitting, and it's transmitting all the time. So it's going to be a battery issue for your phone. You're using up minutes or megabytes, whatever your subscription plan has. And you may not be in an area that has good service, in which case the viewing performance is really bad. So what do you want to do? Do you want to have a live shot of a meeting, but it's not going out over the internet well? That's not a good situation. So in general, I've not done live, mostly because of the permissions. I've always gotten written permission from anybody that I take their video and put it on, let's say YouTube or Facebook. I usually get that in the form of an email, and it's informal. I sent them, when I send them their speech video, I send it to them and I give them the link. In this case, I use Dropbox as the intermediate.
Okay.
And it's a private link. No one's going to guess it or figure it out. If you've ever seen a Dropbox link like that, they're about 50 characters long, and it's all random letters and numbers. No one's going to guess that. And then I say, you can do what you want with it. You can send it to your friends or you can download it, whatever. But I would ask permission to publish it. I won't do it without your written permission. So just reply back if it's okay. If I don't hear from you, it's not okay. If you write back and say it's not okay, it's not okay. And I've had people say it's not okay for various reasons. Sometimes they're talking about things that would be sensitive because they're talking either about their work setting or about their profession, and they might mention where they work. They don't want that necessarily being out there. That's nothing I'm ever going to co-opt, and so that's one of the reasons why I'm thinking live is kind of dangerous.
And as a whole, recommended not to.
Well, I don't. I don't recommend it. But again, there's different groups are going to have different sensitivity to that. It could be that you could either control the setting or control the content where everybody in the room literally, maybe they all sign a form saying, yeah, go ahead, and you go for it.
Okay. So really then depend upon the club's culture.
Sure.
And the buy-in. That makes sense, actually.
Yeah. And that's true everything in Toastmasters. We do all the basics the same, but we all do different things. One of my clubs, we sing a song at the beginning of every meeting. we don't sing it well usually, but we sing a song, right, Carl? We have very few clubs do that. I think there's only 2 clubs that do that.
It's cool though. I know some clubs do the joke of the day or a thought of the day.
Yeah.
That's true. Along with that, one of the members, Heidi Capriati, is on, and she asked me in a chat, what's the best way to capture great audio to go with the great video?
Mm-hmm. That's a tough part with phones because they do pick up the sound. It's usually not great. And a lot of times you're in a room that's not very good for sound, for either ears or microphones. I would check with your manufacturer of your phone and just go online and Google external microphone attachments and see what they have for your model. For instance, I have an iPhone, but iPhone has a interface that doesn't work with standard microphone jacks. So you have to get a special cable or a special version. If you're using an Android phone or some other kind of phone, it might not have that restriction. So there's so many options and possibilities, but anything you can do to get an external microphone and hook it to your phone will be better. When I do it, I have a professional microphone on the camera, and usually, if I can, I have a wireless lavalier that I put on the lapel of the speaker, and then it goes back to the camera. Now, I get it that that's a fancy setup that most people aren't going to have or don't want to spend the money on. I happen to have it, and I enjoy using it for Toastmasters. but definitely try to get an external microphone of some sort for your phone.
It might be something that if a club is really serious and they do want to adopt that as part of their culture, they might see if they have the funds or raise a budget to purchase a microphone as well.
Sure. Yeah, I don't think they're very expensive. I think you're probably in the $50 or less category for some of the accessory microphones.
Right. Okay, now you know I love social media. Yeah, that's an
Sure.
understatement. So
Yeah.
the next question would be about a club starting their own YouTube channel. Would you think that would be a wise idea, especially if they're going to do a lot of video, or
Yeah.
just posting it?
Yeah, I think YouTube is the way to go. And it's not the only thing. You don't limit yourself necessarily to one platform, as you know. What I do for my clubs is I have actually three different places that the videos live. One is in Dropbox, but that's not public. That's really just a repository
Okay.
for the members. Each of our members has their own folder. So some people will have 4, 5, 6, 8 speeches in there, depending on how long we've been doing it. But then what I do is if I get permission from the member to publish it, I upload it to YouTube. Why YouTube? Well, a couple of advantages. It's free, absolutely free. There's never a charge, ever. And this isn't one of those kind of things, well, it's free for 1 or 2 videos, and then after that, you have to pay.
Right.
I have 165 videos on my Awatuki Toastmaster YouTube channel. They're all
Wow.
7 minutes long. That's a lot of gigabytes. And frankly, I don't know how Google does it, but it's magic, right? They add so many videos every day. Well, we have all of those there. They're available to the public and they're available to the members. We link to it on our Free Toast Toast webpage. We then, if we want to put it on our Facebook page, all you have to do is put the URL for the video. And YouTube makes that really easy. The URLs are short, maybe 15 characters or so. You copy it and paste it into Facebook. Facebook knows what to do with it. It knows it's a video link. It will give you a preview picture of the video, and it will then give you the link, and they can just click on it. I use YouTube instead of uploading them to Facebook directly because Facebook dumbs them down. It takes your nice high definition video and it turns it into a low definition video.
Okay.
And so the quality of what Facebook ends up with isn't as good. Now, I can understand all kinds of technical reasons why they might want to do that. YouTube may do that, but they do it better. I know that YouTube will maintain a high definition file. If it starts off HD, you can get it to download HD. And it really makes a difference that when you see on YouTube something, maybe you've seen some videos where it starts looking kind of fuzzy and then it snaps in.
Yeah.
And it goes really good. Well, it's automatically picks up the fact that that's an HD video back, at the server.
Got it.
So you can still use Facebook, but I just use a link. And of course, you can drop links into any social media platform.
That's true because I do that for my clients as well. And I had to answer this question for our webmaster when I first started in my club at Remarkable Speakers. We can't put video directly on our website at Free Toast Host because we have no storage space
Yeah.
allowed. So if you have an actual self-hosted like WordPress type of website, you might be able to do that, but you want to make sure that you're not violating the plan
Yeah.
that your website is using or that your club is paying for. But on a free site, yes, you probably want to do a link to it and probably make a post out of it.
Right. Any of those places that like WordPress are going to have some limit, probably, gigabyte limit.
Right.
YouTube does not have one. If there is one, I don't know what it is.
I haven't found it either.
Again, with 165 videos at roughly a half a gigabyte each, we're using up 80 gigabytes of Google's space, and they haven't squawked. Now there are some downsides. It's not all rosy. It does need someone with a little bit of technical knowledge to be able to log in, upload the video, add the title, and so forth. But that's not really that hard. It can be someone can learn how to do that. The other thing that's probably more important is it needs attention from someone who is the admin, someone who manages it. So just like anything else in your club, Maybe it's, think about your materials, your lectern or your trophies. Somebody has to, the sergeant at arms has to take care of that. Well, YouTube needs its own sergeant at arms, if you will.
Okay, that makes sense.
But it's not a heavy burden to do that.
Okay, that's good. Heidi had another question to follow up when you were talking about, I guess, your microphones and receivers. She wanted to know how much is that setup, and she wrote lav and receiver. Heidi, I don't know if I've pronounced that right. Or what, so if I haven't, please go ahead and correct me on that.
Okay. The one I have, the receiver transmitter with the microphone and everything was about $400.
Okay.
So that's that's out of most people's casual budget range. But they do make them for less. So look around. I don't think you're going to get anything under about $100 though.
Would it make sense to try and get a refurbished one if they make one, or would that do something weird to the quality?
There's a number of brands out there. I'd try, give it a shot on eBay or something like that. There is quite an advantage on the sound of using a lavalier compared to a microphone that's across the room. Whether it's a microphone on your phone, or I have a nice shotgun microphone that I put on my camera and it works fine, but if it's 15 feet away, in fact, it's the same microphone I'm using right now, and you can probably hear a little bit of echo in my room. It'll pick that up in a room, whereas the lavalier will just pick up the speaker.
Oh, nice.
It makes it very clean, and when you're going back later to clean things up, then you have less things to worry about.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then the last question, real quick, when you touched on a little bit that it's not always that hard. Oh, thank you. It's not that hard to write titles for YouTube videos. Sometimes that's also a lot like trying to caption a post if you're writing blog or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Are there some good do's and don'ts that we should keep in mind when writing out a title for our YouTube channel? Should it have the mention of our club name, what the topic, if it's a speech, a table topic or whatnot? Is there a certain length or number of words we should keep in mind?
I saw that question that you'd prepped for me, and there probably is an optimum way to do that, but I'm not a newspaper person. I don't write headlines. I do it. I'm an engineer, so my YouTube titles are very functional. The date, the name of the speaker, and their speech title, if it's a speech. But I also then on YouTube you have a title, then you also have a short description, and that's where I usually put a couple of headlines about what is the speaker talking about, without giving away the whole show and without going on and on. And then the third thing you can do on YouTube is you can put in search keywords. So you can trigger the search bots to look for certain keywords that might either be generic to Toastmasters,
okay,
or specific to that topic that day. If someone is giving a talk about how to use your DSLR camera to take good outdoor animal pictures, okay, that's an audience out there that's looking for things like that. So you put in keywords like DSLR, animal photography, outdoor photography, things like that. So each video can be tailored for that.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
I know you and I do that, but I know not everyone does do that. So I just wanted to get some basics out there for them to get started with.
Sure.
I sent out a message to see if anyone had any other questions for you at this time, because that went through all the questions we had. So I will turn back over then to our guests, and I am going to attempt to unmute everyone. Make sure that we get all of this cleaned out and protected. If there are no other questions, we can close and give a really warm thank you to Don for taking time to be with us tonight and to record this session, not just for us now this year for Toastmasters, but on things that we can do with video for now, and at least for the next 2 or 3 years in the future, and working with YouTube. So thank you, Don. I appreciate your time. If we do have other questions after the meeting from people that weren't able to attend, would you be willing to schedule a follow-up conversation?
Absolutely.
Oh,
Because there's one
wonderful.
thing we did not talk about, and it would be a good meeting, which would be editors. What to do with your video when you get it home, because usually you'll get more on there than you really want to put on Facebook. You know, there's chit chat before, and there's things happening after. And if you happen to start and stop your video perfectly on your phone, great. Most of us don't have that.
No,
We're not that perfect. So
that's true.
either trimming or adding titles or names or things like that on top of the video so that whoever's watching knows what they're seeing.
That's a good point. So if that's a good topic for us to go on for another follow-up call or webinar, if that's agreeable to everyone, we'll schedule that and learn what to do it. We can, when we're using video editors, and some video editors, not always what they seem, as I've learned with a couple that I've dabbled with virtually.
Yeah.
And just for real quick before we end our meeting, if you do not have Dropbox, but you have OneDrive, that actually will work just as well. It depends. So Dropbox, OneDrive, Google Drive, they all do about the same thing. They'll
Right.
save something to a drive in the cloud so you can get to it later. That's okay depending upon your space requirements. I've used Dropbox for, I think, now 6 or 7 years,
Yeah.
and I like that. Don and I share a file in there. So don't feel compelled to go out and make an account unless you really want to. If you have one of the other two, you can feel free to use those as well.
And you can get free Dropbox, but it has a size limit for the number of gigabytes you can use, which will, if you're doing video, you'll rapidly use that up. So
yes.
I happen to have one that I had for my work that has plenty of room for Toastmaster stuff too.
Terrific. Well, great then. We'll go ahead and schedule that. Then we'll go offline and make an arrangement to do that at your next convenience. I want to thank everyone tonight. Have a great Thanksgiving, everyone. I really appreciate your time tonight, and we look forward to catching you again next Tuesday. All right. Thanks. Good night.